Coming up on Network Africa. Nigeria completes final phase of evacuating citizens from South Africa as last batch arrives at Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. United Nations warns terrorist threat is spreading across West Africa and the Sahel. Plus, Uganda faces worsening food crisis in Karamoja sub-region as prolonged drought triggers widespread crop failures, leaving families on the brink of starvation. Begin here in Nigeria with the final phase of the evacuation of Nigerians from South Africa as the federal government completes the repatriation of citizens who opted to return home following the recent xenophobic attacks and growing security concerns in the country. The return flight, which arrived at about 11:28 a.m. local time at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, marks the 7th evacuation flight coordinated by the federal government and the 5th operated by Air Peace. The evacuation is part of continued efforts at assisting Nigerians who indicated interest in returning home following the attacks and security challenges in parts of South Africa. With the conclusion of the airlift exercise, authorities say the focus will now shift to supporting the returnees' reintegration into society. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the operation reflects the federal government's commitment to protecting welfare and safety of Nigerians abroad. It's commended all agencies and partners that contributed to the success of the evacuation. The Acting High Commissioner of Nigeria to South Africa, Mr. Tolu Ajayi, says only a handful of Nigerians are yet to return, while describing the security situation in parts of South Africa as tense, with diplomatic efforts continuing to assist anyone still seeking evacuation.
What we can do with regards to that, because we have some remnant of people. I must say that these are people that didn't show up for screening when we were asking them to come. Say they made up their mind late. You understand, after seeing that okay, maybe they don't want. So that is why we have them. If not, we would have also evacuated them by now. The situation is not. I'm not saying right now is a situation, is a mixed bag in terms of when you go to certain area, you find the impression of being tranquility, but when you go to other area, you see chaos, you see people going house to house, physically removing people, foreigners, to leave South Africa. So the situation is still tense as we speak.
Nigeria's Acting High Commissioner to South Africa, Temitope Ajayi, here in Lagos. In the meantime, South Africa has reiterated its awareness and concern over the ongoing spread of misinformation and false narrative by individuals in some African countries. Addressing a news conference in Pretoria, Presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya says it remains unclear who's behind the campaign to tarnish the country's image. He did assure that the government is monitoring the situation and remains committed to protecting South Africa's reputation. The statement comes as South Africa continues to face criticism over recent anti-illegal immigration demonstrations, which have prompted some African countries to repatriate their citizens.
It's surprising why we are continuously experiencing this anti-diplomatic and unconstructive posture coming from some in Ghana. What does encourage us is that there are political leaders in Ghana, in Parliament, who do recognize the challenge South Africa is facing, and who are also not happy at this posture that we're seeing, particularly from the High Commissioner here, who's representing Ghana, and their foreign minister. And they've raised questions about that posture, and they've asserted the need to maintain and sustain constructive and close bilateral ties between South Africa and Ghana. So we're not anticipating any such move until such time there's something official in which we will then engage diplomatically. However, one will emphasize that such a move will be extremely, extremely detrimental to the economies of any of these countries, should it be considered. You are connecting Israel to the campaign. I can't talk to that, except it is on record by some authorities in Israel that South Africa must be punished. We anticipated that there will be some form of reprisal coming from not only Israel, but some countries that are allied to Israel against South Africa for the action we've taken in taking Israel or referring Israel in its genocidal behavior against Palestinians to the International Court of Justice. We remain firm on that position. It was a correct position. It's a peaceful approach. We're using international legal instrument to question a behavior that we regard to be against the prescripts of international law and our own constitutional values.
Away from the anti-immigration issues in South Africa, the Department of Health has announced 36 hospitals nationwide have been designated to manage Ebola should the country be at risk. The country's Minister of Health, Aaron Mosoledi, said health workers have been trained and equipped as part of the readiness exercise, adding the 36 facilities include 12 private and 24 public facilities. It comes as the Democratic Republic of Congo continues to battle an Ebola outbreak, which has claimed lives of hundreds of people. We're staying with the Ebola crisis. Health workers battling the outbreak in the DRC are threatening to embark on a full-scale strike over unpaid wages, as the World Health Organization warns the epidemic could be up to 4 times larger than officially reported. At the Ebola Treatment Center in Wampara, one of the worst-hit areas of the epicenter of the outbreak in the northeastern province of Ituri, health workers burnt tires in protest and temporarily blocked access to the facility. Doctors at the center say they will begin a full-scale strike with no minimum service if authorities fail to meet their 48-hour ultimatum to pay outstanding salaries and bonuses. The National Public Health Institute says at least 112 healthcare workers have been infected. 35 of them have died. The institute adds that more than 700 people have died among nearly 2,000 confirmed Ebola cases recorded since the outbreak was declared on May 15. The World Health Organization, however, says the true scale of the outbreak could be between 2 and 4 times higher than the original figures. Well, the UN is warning terrorist groups are expanding their reach across West Africa and the Sahel, using increasingly sophisticated methods and threatening the stability of coastal states in the Gulf of Guinea. Briefing the UN Security Council Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel, Leone, armed groups continue to pose a serious threat to the central Sahel and northern Nigeria. He also warned that drug trafficking is becoming increasingly intertwined with terrorism, while humanitarian access remains severely restricted in many conflict-affected areas. The UN calls for sustained international support, great investment in humanitarian service, and stronger regional cooperation to address both security threats and the root causes of conflict. We're in Somalia now, which continues to battle terrorism in the country. Former National Army Commander General Ibrahim Sheikh Muhyiddin raised concern over what he described as growing foreign influence within the nation's military. General Muhyiddin warns that the country's armed forces must remain independent as they battle the Al-Shabaab insurgency.
The concerns come after a Saudi military delegation visited training camps in Gurel, central Somalia on June 29 as part of a Saudi-funded program to train more than 5,000 volunteer recruits for the Somali National Army. According to local media reports, the 9-month program includes recruits from different parts of the country, including Puntland, and is being conducted by trainers from Romania, Ukraine, South Africa, and Colombia. While Somalia's government has welcomed international support to strengthen its security forces, critics say more transparency is needed over how foreign trainers are selected. the terms of other engagement, and the future role of the newly trained units. General Muhyiddin argues that Somalia's military should be built on a strong national doctrine, warning that heavy dependence on foreign funding and personnel could undermine the army's independence and national loyalty. The debate comes at a critical time, with Al-Shabaab continuing to launch attacks across the country despite ongoing military operations. Analysts say international partnerships remain important for rebuilding Somalia's security sector, but stress that balancing external assistance with national ownership will be crucial to ensuring long-term stability and protecting the country's sovereignty.
We're off on a short break on Network Africa, still ahead. Nairobi recyclers wash, restore with carded wigs and extensions for a budget for buyers. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's head to Uganda, where the country is facing a worsening food crisis in the Karamoja sub-region after prolonged drought triggered widespread crop failures, severe food shortages, and at least 16 reported hunger-related deaths. Residents say months without rainfall have wiped out crops, leaving many families without food or a source of income. Secretary of the Karamoja Regional Disaster Committee, Lokongo Peter, says a drought begins in May and has affected over 4,000 households and more than 4,000 acres of farmland in one sub-county alone. Ugandan authorities say emergency food supplies are being distributed to the worst affected districts, while additional relief is being prepared as conditions continue to deteriorate. Karamoja is one of Uganda's poorest and most drought-prone regions, where communities rely heavily on rain-fed farming and livestock.
The drought started in May. It started in May, and from all that period, up to now, there's no rains received. So now in this sub-county, the total number of households which have been affected is 4,078 households, and the crop coverage which is affected is 4,010 acres. The effect right now is mainly the issues of food shortage, since all the people are massively opened land and they planted knowing that they are going to recover from their gardens, but unfortunately there's nothing, and this effect is causing death to some of the families, and some of the families have nothing to eat. As the government, one, we sat as a disaster management committee with the whole team. We went and did the analysis of crop failure. Then we wrote a disaster report, submitted to OPM and then also to MAIF for crop failure. And then we tried to lobby from also other partners to support the community.
In Sierra Leone, authorities have dropped treason charges against former President Ernest Koroma over his alleged role in what they described as an attempted coup in 2023. Koroma, who led the West African nation from 2007 to 2018, was charged in January 2024 with treason and other related offenses. A statement from the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice said it had filed a notice to discontinue the criminal proceedings against the former president, adding that he is free to return to Sierra Leone upon completing his medical treatment or at any time of his choosing. No official explanation has been given for the decision to drop the charges, but political observers believe the move is aimed at fostering national unity. Nigeria and Mali have agreed to convene a joint commission to revitalize several dormant bilateral agreements between the two countries. The initiative was announced during a courtesy visit by Mali's ambassador to Nigeria, Umar Coulibaly, to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bianca Odumegwu-Ojukwu, at Afabalewa House in Abuja. The Nigerian minister said the two countries continue to enjoy cordial bilateral relations, noting that the withdrawal of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from the regional bloc would not diminish the long-standing ties that they share with Nigeria. Mrs. Odumegwu-Ojukwu stressed the need for stronger military cooperation to address the worsening security situation in the Sahel, driven by terrorism and banditry. She says a proposed joint commission would provide a platform to reactivate bilateral agreements with security, trade, energy, irregular migration, human trafficking, the bilateral air services agreement, and other areas identified as key priorities for cooperation. On his part, Ambassador Coulibaly, who described Nigeria as a big brother, called for sustained political dialogue between both countries ahead of the proposed joint commission. Meanwhile, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is in Lisbon, Portugal, to participate in the 2026 Euro-African Forum, scheduled to hold from July 15 to the 16th at the Nova School of Business and Economics. The Euro-African Forum brings together heads of state, ministers, policy makers, business leaders, development partners, academics, and private sector stakeholders from Africa and Europe to discuss strategic issues shaping cooperation between the two continents. The 2026 edition is expected to focus on human capital, trade and investment, energy, infrastructure, geopolitics, innovation and technology. As part of the forum, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is scheduled to deliver the opening address during the high-level geopolitical session on July 16, themed "How Will Africa and Europe Navigate Global Geopolitical Turmoil?" On the sidelines, Odumegwu-Ojukwu is expected to hold bilateral meetings with senior government officials, development partners, and business leaders to advance Nigeria's foreign policy objectives, promote economic diplomacy, attract investment, and deepen strategic partnerships with Portugal and other participating countries. As tensions are escalating following Senegal's exit from the World Cup, the Senegalese government has stepped in and ordered the country's football federation to refrain from giving interviews or making public statements until further notice. The Teranga Lions' journey to the tournament ended in the round of 32 after being defeated 3-2 by Belgium. The football federation then dismissed coach Papetior following the match. Later, the row escalated after the federation's president blamed the team's longtime doctor, Dr. Abdurrahman Fedior, for contributing to the players' unease during the tournament. Tensions still remain with regards to last year's AFCON, when Senegal was suddenly stripped of its title after initially being declared winner against Morocco. A move came after Senegal's players briefly walked off the field during the encounter at the demand of coach Papetior, which prompted Morocco to claim that Senegal had thus automatically forfeited the match. In the meantime, the government moved to examine responsibilities and sketch out a plan to move forward. Discarded wigs and hair extensions are being given a second life at Nairobi's Dandora dump site, where waste pickers turn thrown away hair into income and affordable beauty products. Well, many of the they call them vendors, were at the dump site near salons where it is washed, repaired and prepared for resale. Hair recycler Susan Kivundu said the trade helps support her family while offering cheaper extensions to customers who are on tight budgets. Customers say the restored hair can be difficult to distinguish from new products. According to one trader, refurbishing discarded extensions puts them within reach of more buyers.
Rather than picking, I buy to some ladies who pick there. Then I come and wash. After washing them, I make them neat. Then I sell to other people. the hair that costs at least 5K, if I come and sell here, I'll sell at around 2K or 1,000, because there are those people that cannot afford that 5,000 shillings.
And as we end the program, here's our fun fact for the day. Did you know the Democratic Republic of Congo is the only country where all 3 surviving species of great apes, the mountain gorillas, eastern lowland gorillas, and bonobos, all live in the wild? Bonobos are found nowhere else on Earth, making the DRC one of the world's most important strongholds for great ape conservation and biodiversity. And now you know. Thanks for watching Network Africa. I'm Amarachi Uvani.